Welcome to Bull TV, where we're bullish on Collierville and the Mid-South. I'm your host, David Pickler. Bull TV is a monthly show that empowers, educates, and entertains while highlighting the people who inspire and deliver solutions for a stronger community. Bull TV is presented by Pickler Companies and proudly produced by the students of Collierville High School. We invite you to watch our show at www.bulltv.show, thebullnetwork.com, and CHS-TV 19. New episodes air on the second Sunday of every month at 3 p.m. Central Time. On today's show, I sit down with Katie George Hooser, Chief Marketing Officer for IMC Companies. Join us as we learn about how IMC became the largest marine drayage firm in the United States and why they chose Collierville as their base of operations. In the show, we'll discuss how IMC is blazing the trail and rails and sea in supply chain services, what the company is doing to impact its community, and why they're dedicated to regional expertise and innovation. Today I'm joined by Katie George Hooser. Katie is the Chief Marketing Officer for IMC, the largest marine drayage company in the United States. In her role, Katie oversees the company's brand, public relations, digital marketing, and events. She also leads the National Driver Recruiting Department. Katie created the marketing department at IMC and led the creation of its logo, websites, and identity materials. Prior to this, Katie served in a sales role for intermodal cartage. Katie has an undergraduate degree from Emory University and an MBA from Christian Brothers University. She's the current board member of the Southwest Community College Foundation and of the Collierville Education Foundation. Katie, her husband Andrew, and their 3 children reside in Memphis, Tennessee. Katie, thank you very much for joining us here on Bull TV.
Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, we always want to try to get a chance to get to know you a little bit. So we're going to start with a question we ask everyone, and that is, in 3 words, who is Katie George Hooser?
I'd say that I'm focused, I'm an optimist, and I'm empathetic.
Very, very good. You want to expand a little bit on why you picked those 3?
Yeah, sure. I would say that I'm focused in that I know my mission at work and at home in both of those places. And I don't really have time for much else than to support that mission. And so it's just really important that I spend my time on things that matter.
Sure.
And I think I'm good at that. I think I'm really good at prioritizing what matters and what doesn't, and putting time and resources to the things that matter.
Well, that's a great skill set to be able to do that, to prioritize that, because we all have the same number of seconds a day, same minutes a day.
Yeah.
It's how we use that time.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very important. And then I'm an optimist, which I think is very important in business. Like any business is going to come across problems and issues, and I think it's really important to be able to see not just the silver lining in those issues, but really the opportunity, because a lot of times we're facing all the same industry problems, and if you can find something that's positive about it, then you can really help your business grow and achieve despite whatever circumstances you're in. And so I think as a business, IMC does that well, and I think I've been taught to do that well in my role in marketing.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, now, we learned in your introduction, you currently serve as the Chief Marketing Officer for IMC. Tell us a little bit about your personal and your professional journey to where you started to where you are now.
Yeah, well, so IMC is a family business, and it was started by my parents, Mark and Melinda George, in 1982, so it's been 42 years ago, and so I grew up in the business.
Wow.
And I remember doing my homework on conference room tables and my mom did Coke machines in the depot where the drivers were, and so it was our job after school to stock all those Coke machines, and I knew all the drivers' names. And then probably by the time I was 12 or 13, my dad had me in the summers coming in the office, and I would do just clerical work. I was really good at filing back then, and people would give me all the jobs that no one else wanted.
Of course.
And so I would spend weeks doing that. And then I went to school in Atlanta, and so I did lots of different jobs. I worked here in Memphis at some nonprofits, and then I also worked in Atlanta. I worked at a public relations firm in Atlanta, and that was really helpful for me. I think a lot of the skill sets that I had, like I was always a good writer, and I think I kind of had a natural ability to understand branding, and I got to do those things at that job. But when IMC needed someone in human resources when I graduated, and so I did that job, which really wasn't human resources. I thought that that's what it was going to be at the time, but it was a payroll job. So I was in charge of processing checks and making sure no one had a mistake in their pay, which was a big job.
As someone who's been a small business owner for over 40 years, I can tell you that payroll responsibility is a thankless job, but it's an incredibly important job to get that right.
Yeah, I stuck it out for a year doing payroll. And then after that, I did a management training job where I got to spend time more formally, even though I'd done it as a kid, in different departments. And I worked out on the interchange lanes, checking trucks in and out, in the maintenance shop. I dispatched trucks and did customer service, and then ended up in sales. And sales was a good job for me because I really understood at that point like what our customers thought about us and what they were looking for, and I saw our team just really creating these innovative solutions for customers. And in sales, the other thing that happened was we didn't have a marketing department at the time, and so marketing type jobs just kept landing on my desk, and just gradually over time as IMC became bigger, I took on more marketing roles and less sales. And so went back and got my MBA with a concentration in marketing so that I was officially qualified, and then created our first IMC marketing department with, the first thing we did, we created our logo and all of our identity materials. We created websites. We started telling our story to the news and to the press and trying to get people to talk about us. And now there's over 2,200 trucks across the country with that logo we created probably 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have really had an incredibly broad background. It's really, understanding the business really from the ground up.
Yes.
And in all aspects of it. That really gives you a tremendous ability to tell the story of IMC because you've lived so much of it, both as the child whose family that was their business, but also in all the roles that you've created and been a part of over the past several years. I
think so, and I think also to understand just different perspectives and different departments, and that's been pretty important to me in my job. That's great. Well, obviously you've had a very interesting career so far. Katie, when you think about your situation, what is it that inspires you most in your life? My family for sure inspires me. So I said my parents started the business that I'm lucky enough to work at, and my dad is a visionary and one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and a great leader, but also a good person, which I think that combination is pretty rare. And then my mom has a natural ability to create a company culture, and so she does things at the office like she makes cookies and banana bread for meetings still, and she designed every aspect of our Collierville headquarters and company parties, and so she just makes everybody feel at home in our office. And then my husband is also an entrepreneur, so he started a data analytics company 2 years ago, which is very brave and is inspirational to me. 2 years ago, there's a little bit going on in the country about that time. Yeah. Well, he struck out and did it anyway, despite things that might be difficult, and is having a lot of success. And then we have 3 kids. So my twins are 10, George and Adelaide, and I have a 7-year-old Howard. And I tell you what, they're some of the hardest working kids at school and in their sports, and I've got to work really hard to keep up with what they're doing. So that inspires me for sure.
So that they're inspiring you and challenging you.
That's right, both of those things.
That is awesome. Well, you talked obviously a little bit about IMC, and a lot of people may not be aware of just the significance of your family business. It's the largest machine drayage firm in the United States. So you might start with by telling people what is drayage, and what are some of the other services that IMC offers?
So I'll back up and I'll explain a little bit more about the supply chain first and
Sure.
how imports get into the country. So, an import is any kind of good that is coming into the United States. And most of them come in these marine containers, which are these 40-foot corrugated boxes that you see every day. You might not know that you see in traffic, but you probably do. And they're loaded and they're put onto ships in different countries, and they move into the United States at different ports. Mm-hmm. And then when they get to the port, one of two things happens. Either the containers are picked up by truck at those ports, or they're put on a train. Mm-hmm. And when they get to the railroad, then they're picked up by a truck. And the same thing happens on the opposite side with an export. A container, a 40-foot container or a 20-foot container is filled up with product. It moves by truck to the railroad and then to a port and to overseas as an export. And the trucking piece of that international move is called marine drayage.
Okay.
And IMC does more of that than any other company in the United States. And then we do other things too. So we store those containers and chassis. We do maintenance and repair on those. We do transloading. So we have facilities around the country where we'll take containers and we'll unload product and we'll store it and ship it out. So I just a few weeks ago got back from our Los Angeles office where we're doing a good bit of that work and sending product direct to customer. And then we contract trains, like dedicated trains for our customers, where we'll move a lot of product just on one train inland for customers. And then the other thing that we do is, because IMC doesn't always have enough capacity with our own trucks, is we'll partner with, we've got about 1,200 smaller trucking companies that we work with to help move cargo for our customers as well.
Wow, that's an amazing story. So tell us once again, what is the term drayage? What does that actually mean?
Drayage is moving an ocean container by truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just that process of moving it around.
Yeah.
Well, I know, we talked about the challenges, but I know that we've heard many, many, many stories about some of the problems that were happening, in the days after COVID.
Yes.
With the backups in the LA port and the problems finding trucks and finding drivers and things of that nature. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that y'all faced during that time period?
Yeah, we were right in the middle of it. So just not enough trucks and not enough drivers to move the demand of product that people needed and ordered. And so luckily that's died off a little bit now, and we're able to keep up much better. But I think, again, I talked about being an optimist. I think IMC is an optimistic company, and so we grew a lot during that time, and we were able to see opportunities and take advantage of those so that our customers could still have some capacity.
That's fantastic. Well, you mentioned a little bit about IMC being started by your folks, and I believe they were 20 years old at the time. Mark and Melinda George, and the story is incredibly impressive. Talk a little bit, if you can, about the amazing history of IMC, and a little bit more about what is the current footprint of the things where you serve and really where your markets are that you are able to do such an incredible job with.
Yeah, so they started IMC in 1982 with just one truck and one driver. Wow. And at the time we were on Brooks Road, which is in Memphis, and it's a very small trucking terminal there. And we expanded to Holmes Road near Lamar, and so that was our second terminal. And we still are there today. It's about 150 acres. We've got about 200 trucks at that terminal, and then we store containers and chassis there as well. And so from there, they expanded into Nashville and then the Southeast very organically. And then, it took us maybe 35 of those years until we were able to complete our national footprint. And so we're in 45 locations across the country now. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Wow. Well, I'm hearing your story, and I'm thinking of another Memphis company that has a fairly big footprint in the industry, and that being FedEx.
Yeah.
And like FedEx, your focus is on logistics and transportation, and obviously there's plenty of room for two transportation titans here in the Mid-South. Talk a little bit about what sets IMC apart from other organizations, from your competitors. What's really allowed IMC to grow at the rate that you have talked about over the past 42 years?
Yeah, I think the difference is focus, and we're very focused on the international supply chain. So you heard me explain it. We want to do everything that we can do to support that container movement, and that's drayage. Those are the train moves. We'll transload that container, we'll fix that container, we'll store that container, but for the whole time we've started since 1982, we've never deviated from that, and I think that has a lot to do with our success.
So you've narrowed your focus to really be able to be extremely good in this one particular area.
That's right.
That's correct. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we're dealing with all the issues with COVID and everything else, I also was hearing that there was a real supply issue with the containers. When you're dealing with it, but that's something else. Yeah, I know that you were storing them, but was that something that impacted your company as well?
Yeah, there's always an imbalance in containers. So the United States imports a lot more than we export,
right? And
so we store thousands and thousands of containers now and during COVID that are waiting for an export to get them back overseas to fill them again with an import. So that's a common problem that we do deal with, yes.
And again, one of the reasons why you have to have that capacity to be able to provide that storage.
That's right.
Wow, that's great. Well, we talked about the fact that IMC has moved your headquarters, being headquarters here in Collierville. What were the things that were involved with choosing Collierville as the home for IMC?
Yeah, I think we just wanted a place where our team could be healthy and where they could be comfortable, and Collierville really is that, especially Schilling Farms. So I love being out there. I walk and I get coffee sometimes in the middle of the day. We have walking meetings, and I go to lunch. The YMCA is really close, and so I know that our team can take advantage of that and the bike trails, and we've really been very happy to be in Collierville.
That's great. Yes, Schilling Farms is a wonderful area, and I know it's still under a lot of development there. We'll be seeing a lot more growth out in Schilling Farms, and of course IMC being a great leader in that development as well. So that's super.
We're excited about some of those restaurants coming in close to having some good options there.
That's awesome. Now, we know that IMC is really a family of companies. You've got the Atlantic Intermodal Services, you've got Intermodal Cartage Company, Pacific Drayage Services. What is it like for you as the Chief Marketing Officer to be able to maintain the voice for so many brands, or how is it maybe the challenge of creating the brand identity that you're looking for with those three different companies?
Yeah, you're touching on the hardest part of my job for sure. So, and we have 7 brands that fall under the IMC umbrella.
Goodness.
But thankfully for me, we are consolidating all of those brands by the end of 2023. So at the end of the year, we'll have just one. And so where we have 7 logos, 7 websites, all of those will just be one, which really does make my job a lot easier. But I would say that a lot of the businesses that we've developed over time, either we've acquired, we may have built them, and they do have some differences in company culture. And so, and I would say that that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a strength because we really understand these companies are regional, and we really understand these regional markets. And so what my job is to make sure we present IMC in this clear, unified way, and customers understand our scale and how big we are and what we can do. But at the same time, I want to make sure that regional expertise that we have, we don't lose. And I know that, we wouldn't lose the expertise, but we don't want to lose the story of it or marketing that expertise to our customers and our community. And so we have to do both. We have to be able to understand our differences and promote those, but then at the same time, in a very professional way, the IMC brand.
Absolutely, because it seems like some of those regional differences may be a differentiator.
Yes.
In terms of helping you stand out among the competition because of something that's unique with that brand. But I could understand, as you talked about, the focus of being able to have that one national brand and create that brand identity around there.
Yes.
Very important. What values are most important to you?
Well, I like the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits that's probably the hardest for me, but I have also learned has been the most valuable, is win-win. And so I think a lot about collaboration at work. And so what I've learned over time is I can push a solution through, and I can say this is the way it has to be. And even if people don't agree with me, or not everyone agrees with me, but I've learned that those solutions don't likely last. They may last a year or two, but they're not sustainable because they don't have the right kind of buy-in. And so it's important to make my position clear and explain as well as I can why I think something might work well. But then I also have to be flexible enough to hear what other people are saying and collaborate. And even if that means my idea changes, what I thought was best might have to be adjusted a little bit, but we come up with much better solutions that way, and they're going to be lasting because they're going to have support of other departments.
Absolutely. Another thing that you've talked about with IMC is the role that IMC has in terms of community engagement, something that's extremely important to me. What is IMC doing to impact the residents of not only just Collierville, but all the communities that you guys are involved in?
Yeah, so I'll start with Collierville specifically. So we're members of the Rotary and the Chamber of Commerce, which we're very proud of that. And Collierville Education Foundation, we're supporters of that organization where I get to be a board member. And also we have drivers that are talking to different community members at events. So we'll be in the Christmas parade. We'll have schools come visit our offices, and drivers go to touch a truck events, which is very important to us. Then locally in Memphis, we're very involved with Palmer Home for Children.
Sure.
And with Hope Works and the Neighborhood Christian Center. And then nationally, we like to be involved in local communities. And so there's just different local initiatives at different cities around the United States.
That's great. Well, it's certainly great to see not only are y'all having wonderful success, but you're also really finding ways to be significant in the communities that you're engaged in. That's great. Another area that I'm sure of huge importance to IMC are your drivers. And I really enjoyed looking at your Driver Hall of Fame on your website. I love how you celebrate your drivers, the highway heroes, as you refer to them. Talk a little bit about the initiative of the Hall of Fame and the highway heroes and how it impacts your morale.
Yeah, so our Hall of Fame is a place where we honor 20 years of drivers who have worked for IMC for 20 years, and they've been safe drivers for 20 years, which is really just an amazing accomplishment. So we celebrate these people in other ways, but it's just, and you think they've been with the organization for 20 years. These are people that I knew as a kid and who are my friends, especially the drivers that are in Memphis. And we just really think it's important to hold them up to other drivers and to the community as leaders within our organization. They really are responsible for our success. They believed in us. When we first started out our business, we were small. They trusted that every day they'd come to work and we would have freight for them, even though we were small. And we just really appreciate the work that they've done at IMC.
Absolutely. Katie, IMC's had an amazing 42 years. Where do you see IMC 10 years from now?
Well, IMC is a growth-oriented company. So if you talk to our leadership team, they'll tell you we want to be a $5 billion company. So we're just over $1 billion now. And I really believe that we have the right people in place, the right leadership that will be able to accomplish that.
That's great. So what does success look like for Katie George Hooser?
Yeah. Well, I've been given so many opportunities in my life and my career, so I want to be a good steward of all that God's given me, and I want to lead the team that I have at IMC well, create opportunities for them, and also my family.
Absolutely. You know, here we are in this amazing Collierville High School with these incredible students here. When we think about this, what are the lessons that you would have for them in terms of leadership, that you would like for the kids at Collierville High School to know about?
Yeah, I would say raise your hand for all kinds of different opportunities, and don't be scared to do something that's outside of your comfort zone. So it could be small and you think it's easy and unimportant, do it anyway. It could be something that's really hard that you think you're not quite qualified or prepared for. Raise your hand anyway and learn while you're on the go. And I think that if you do that and you take advantage of every opportunity, you say yes to lots of different things, that eventually you'll know more what you're good at and where your talents lie, and you'll be given so many more opportunities.
That's correct. You know, earlier you talked about the things that inspire you and the people who inspire you. And you talked about the incredible things that your parents have done. You know, what would you say would be the one individual that's had the greatest impact on your life?
Let's skip that one too, since I talked about it, and the other one, if that's okay.
That's not a problem.
Sorry, I'm just cutting questions right and left.
That's all right. Not a problem. We can be very flexible.
Thank you.
So, all right, Katie. When you look back years from now and reflect on your career, what would you hope would be your legacy?
Well, in marketing, what we do is we create a brand, which is really the story of a company. And I've always been very proud of IMC. And even when it was just a few of us, it was just a handful of us working at the company. And now there are thousands. And so I want all of those people to feel proud of what they do. We build amazing solutions at IMC. And for that to happen, then I have to tell the story well. I have to make sure the industry knows what we're doing and the community knows what we're doing, so that the work that they do and the ideas that they have and the passion that they have, other people recognize it. And so I want to shine a spotlight on what IMC is doing. Yeah.
Well, Katie, I think you've done an amazing job today shining that spotlight and telling that story, because I think that IMC is a company that people in this community need to know about. And I just thoroughly, really appreciate you being here today, sharing the story, and so that we here in Collierville can know the IMC story, because this is the type of story that to me makes Collierville proud. And it really is another example of why those people like I, who've chosen to make Collierville their home, that it's what makes this community great. And so I'm very grateful for the time that you've taken to spend with us today.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so, what we've done is we talked about the leadership team. We've talked about how you're making the mark in the history books. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next 10 years brings, both for IMC and in the world of Katie George Hooser.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
The business of America is business. This quote was first attributed to the American president Calvin Coolidge nearly 100 years ago. What Silent Cal actually said was, the chief business of the American people is business. But I think either quote perfectly attributes the belief that we as Americans are concerned with producing, buying, selling, investing, and prospering in our lives and in our work. While a life of significance is founded upon more than just the pursuit of profit, it would be very safe to say that we Americans have forged the greatest economy in the history of mankind. We have built incredible businesses that dramatically enhance the lives and the prosperity of our entire society. Over the past century, our capitalistic society has witnessed tsunamis of creativity and innovation that continue to be manifested on an almost daily basis. We've also borne witness to the expansion of our global economy and the need for high levels of efficiency and effectiveness in the manner in which businesses and the entire economies interact. The logistics of transporting goods and services across our rapidly evolving economy are incredibly dynamic and constantly evolving. While our economy is heavily dependent on those who produce the goods we consume, such production would be meaningless without the logistics of transporting those goods from producer to consumer. The Memphis area has long been recognized for its role as America's distribution center. Our geographic location, our proximity to multiple national interstates, our airports, our access to navigable rivers, rails, and trucking are essential elements of our preeminent role in logistics and distribution. As a result, our region has been a tremendous incubator of amazing companies that exist to serve our economy in the transit of the goods and products that have made the American consumer the most powerful force in global capitalism. We are so blessed to have one of America's greatest logistics and distribution companies in IMC, a firm that made the conscious decision to relocate to the Collierville community. At Colliervillians, we celebrate their success and truly appreciate the investments you have made in the community, as well as the lives you've impacted through the jobs you're creating and the families you benefit each and every day. Thank you, IMC, for your dedication to community engagement and civic investment. The business of America may very well still be business, but we are so much more. Our economic success has forged a new day where businesses are just as committed to community reinvestment as they are to profitability. They understand that success is essential to keep people employed and to reward shareholders for their investment. But the ultimate reward is uncovered when businesses like IMC achieve significance, when they are viewed as essential and indispensable in the lives of their employees, the communities in which they're located, and the millions of customers and consumers who have come to depend upon their expertise and efficiency to ensure the vital products and services dependably arrive when needed. Thank you again to my guest, Katie George Hooser, and the entire IMC team. We are proud to have you as a major partner in our Collierville community. And that is my 2 cents. Until next time, I'm your host, David Pickler. Thank you for watching Bull TV, where together we deliver solutions for a stronger community.